I want to look this morning at the testimonies of these Christians. Paul was writing to this church. He's telling about these folks that are going to come to this church and to greet them. It'd be like me writing a letter to Brother Donnie and say, Brother Donnie, next Sunday, Brother Danny and Brother AC and Brother Harold are going to be down there, and they're going to come to your services. They're going to come to your church, and then say something about them. See, Paul didn't just say they're coming to see you, but he mentioned some characteristics of these men of God, these men that were serving the Lord. I wrote down these different things. First of all, I wrote down faithfulness. He said about Tychicus and Onesimus, he said Tychicus was a faithful minister. He says that Onesimus is a faithful and beloved brother. You know what? Faithfulness means to be steadfast in allegiance, affection, or allegiance. And loyalty and steadfastness following. A group of people who adhere to a common faith and eventually tend a given church. That was interesting when I read the definition. I guess secular definition. It's not come out of a Bible dictionary. I mean, just looked up the word faithful. And it says steadfast in affections and allegiance, loyalty and steadfast following. And then he said a group of people adhere to a common faith, and listen to this word he uses, and habitually attend a given church. Can I get an amen on that statement? Habitually attend a given church. Well, that's pretty good, ain't it? These people that he's writing about, they had the characteristic of being faithful. Now, the Bible teaches me that we are to be, moreover, is required in a steward that a man be found faithfully. I believe if you look in at judgment seat of Christ, you look at when he's going to reward us for what we've done, we get to go to heaven because we're saved by the blood. We know that. But in the book of, I believe it's Corinthians, it talks about how we must all stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give account. Give account, not to get to go to heaven or hell, but to receive rewards. And I believe one of those things that we're going to give account for is our faithfulness. Amen. Is our faithfulness. And you know what? In my life or your life, you ought to stop sometime, and if you're not faithful to the Lord, you ought to stop and ask yourself the question, why? What is it that's more important to me in my life here that is causing me not to be faithful to the Lord? Amen. You're going to give account one of these days to the Lord. And I'm not talking about just the church attendance. I'm talking about Bible study. I'm talking about giving. He's talking about, our whole being that has to do with our Christianity. And you know what? Somebody said one time, I like this. Somebody said one time, if they put you on trial for being a Christian, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Amen? If they put you on trial of being a Christian, they're trying to prove to your peers, 12 jurymen and ladies, that you are a Christian. This guy is a Christian. Well, could they come up with enough evidence to convict you of that crime? We just talked in Sunday school, and was it you, Charles, that brought that out about in California?
I believe it's California.
Yeah. Anyway, he brought out, he heard it on the news, that somebody decided to have a Bible study in their home. And anyway, they had a Bible study. They're having a Bible study in their home. God forbid that we do something like that in this country and mess people's minds up. Amen? We don't want to push Christianity on anybody. Lord help us. But anyway, they're having a Bible study. And so the guy got arrested, got sentenced to 6 months in jail, and fined $12,500, I think you said. You say, what for, Brother Jerry? For having a Bible study. You say, well, that didn't happen in this country. Well, then Charles lied to us in Sunday school. I mean, all I got to say, that's what he said. I didn't hear it. He might have just made that up in his mind, but I don't think he got up this morning and headed down to the church house to Sunday school and thinking all the way down here, man, I'm going to tell this big lie this morning in Sunday school. I don't think he done that. So, and I'm not sure about it. It sounds like California to me. But might be somewhere else. I don't know. But having a Bible study. The reason was this. The reason that they arrested him and fined him all that stuff, because he was causing unsafe conditions when people come to his house and they were backing out in the street. I could understand that, can't y'all? They didn't say nothing about them parties where 20 couples get together and swap wives and husbands. I guess they don't back out in the streets. Amen? They didn't say nothing about when somebody's having a big barbecue and they got a bunch of Bud Light and Bud Fat and Bud Heavy or whatever all them other buds is. I used to know a preacher. His name was Bud. His wife told me, he said when he first met her, when they first started dating, his wife's mother said, honey, he said, this bud is for you. That's the honest truth. I'm telling the truth. That's what she told me. But you know what? But I guess people, after a couple of 6 packs of beer backing out in the road, are more safer than them folks in there studying that Bible and doing that stuff. God help us. Amen. 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 That's happening here, according to him. Now, if it ain't true, you blame him. You go home, you run it on Scopes or whatever it is, and research it out. If it ain't true, you come back tonight. Don't blame me. Blame Charles, because he's the one who told me this, and I'm just repeating. I haven't checked it out. No, it's happening.
I got witnesses.
He's got witnesses. Oh, Joan, she's worked so hard this week. Well, you told me you worked hard.
I just heard that pass.
You just heard it pass. I thought you was working. John come in this morning and said, man. I said, what's wrong? She said, I worked like a dog this week. I looked at her. I said, you done what? She said, I worked like a dog. I said, well, I don't know about that. I said, my dog lays on the couch, eats and sleeps, and goes to the bathroom. I guess that's what she done this week. She just wore out from it. But he said faithfulness. These guys, he said, he told them, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? Listen to me. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if you got another job? I don't mean that'd be wonderful if you left, excuse me. But you were moving. You had to move. You got another job, or, you just moved somewhere else, and you're going to live there. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the preacher called here and said, Brother Jerry, what about this lady? What about this couple? What about these folks? Wouldn't it be wonderful that I could say to them, like Paul said about these guys, well, I'll tell you one thing about that gal. She's faithful to God. He's faithful to God. They're faithful to God. Wouldn't that be wonderful?